You know what's interesting? Most people spend their entire lives waiting. They're waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for the economy to get better, waiting for their boss to recognize their talents, waiting for someone to give them a break. And while they're waiting, life is passing them by. Years turn into decades, and one day they wake up wondering where all the time went and why things never changed. Let me tell you something that might shake you up a bit, but it's the truth you need to hear. The problem isn't out there. The problem is looking back at you in the mirror every single morning. Now, I know that's not easy to hear. Nobody wants to accept that they're the reason their life looks the way it does. It's so much easier to point fingers. The government's holding me back. My parents didn't give me the right start. My spouse doesn't understand me. My boss doesn't appreciate me. The economy's terrible. The timing's not right. I didn't get the education I needed. I didn't have the connections. The list goes on, doesn't it? But here's what I've learned after all these years. For things to change, you've got to change. For things to get better, you've got to get better. You can't keep being the same person and expect different results. That's not how life works. Let me tell you about a fellow I met years ago. Nice guy, hard worker, always complaining about his circumstances. Every time I saw him, it was the same story. The company wasn't paying him enough. His territory was no good. Other salespeople had all the advantages. His manager didn't like him. One excuse after another. And you know what? Some of his complaints might have even been legitimate. Maybe his territory wasn't the best. Maybe his manager was difficult. But here's the thing. While he was busy explaining why he couldn't succeed, other people in the same company with the same challenges were succeeding. Same economy, same products, same compensation plan, different results. Why? Because they took a different approach. They looked at themselves first instead of looking at their circumstances. The truth is, we've all got circumstances. We've all got challenges. We've all got reasons why things could be better. But successful people don't use those reasons as excuses. They use them as challenges to overcome. They ask themselves, what can I do about this? How can I change? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to become? That's a completely different conversation than why is this happening to me? Who's to blame? Why isn't life fair? One conversation keeps you stuck. The other conversation moves you forward. Here's something fascinating. The moment you accept total responsibility for everything in your life, everything changes. Not your circumstances at first, but you change. Your attitude shifts, your energy shifts. Instead of feeling like a victim of life, you start feeling like the creator of your life. And that feeling, that shift in perspective, that's where all real change begins. See, when you're blaming external factors, you're powerless. You're waiting for something outside of yourself to change before you can move forward. But when you accept responsibility, suddenly you're back in control. You might not control the economy, but you control your work ethic. You might not control your past, but you control what you do today. You might not control other people, but you control yourself. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. What would your life look like if you stopped making excuses? What would happen if you took all that energy you've been putting into explaining why things aren't working and redirected it into making things work? What if you spent the next 6 months working on yourself instead of wishing your circumstances were different? I'll tell you what would happen. You'd be amazed, absolutely amazed. Because when you work on yourself, everything else starts to work. Not like magic, but like cause and effect. You see, most people have this backwards. They think when I get the promotion, then I'll develop the skills. When I have more money, then I'll start investing. When I feel motivated, then I'll take action. But that's not how it works. You develop the skills, and then you get the promotion. You start investing whatever you have, and then you get more money. You take action, and then you feel motivated. You can't have the harvest before you plant the seeds. You can't reap before you sow. That's not just a nice saying. That's a law of life. I remember struggling early in my career, wondering why I wasn't getting ahead. I had all sorts of reasons lined up. Then someone told me something that changed everything. They said, Jim, if you want things to change, you've got to change. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. You can't change the economy, but you can change your skills. You can't change the past, but you can change your attitude about it. That hit me hard because I realized I'd been focusing on all the wrong things. I'd been trying to change everything except the one thing I could actually change: me. Here's what happens when you finally get this. When you really get it down deep in your soul that you're responsible, not your circumstances. First, you stop whining. You just stop, because what's the point? Complaining doesn't change anything. It just makes you feel worse and drives people away. Second, you start asking better questions. Instead of why me, you start asking what now. Instead of who's to blame, you start asking what can I learn. Better questions lead to better answers, and better answers lead to better results. Third, and this is important, you start attracting different kinds of people into your life. Victims attract victims. They get together and have pity parties. They reinforce each other's excuses. But people who take responsibility attract other responsible people. They have different conversations. They talk about solutions, not problems. They talk about opportunities, not obstacles. They challenge each other to grow instead of enabling each other to stay stuck. The quality of your life is largely determined by the quality of the people you surround yourself with, and the quality of people you attract is largely determined by who you are. Now, let me be clear about something. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you're to blame for everything that's happened to you. Maybe you did have a rough childhood. Maybe you were treated unfairly. Maybe you did get dealt a bad hand in some areas. I'm not saying everything's your fault. What I'm saying is this: regardless of how you got where you are, it's your responsibility to get yourself somewhere better. That's the deal. You might not be responsible for being knocked down, but you're absolutely responsible for getting back up. You might not be responsible for the cards you were dealt, but you're completely responsible for how you play them. This is where most people get stuck. They're so focused on whose fault it is that they never get around to fixing it. They want justice, they want fairness, they want someone to acknowledge that they were wronged. And maybe they deserve all of that. But while they're waiting for the world to make things right, their life is slipping away. Years go by, and they're still stuck in the same place, still angry about the same things, still waiting for someone else to change so they can move forward. What a waste. What a tragedy. Let me tell you what I've observed over decades of working with people from all walks of life. The ones who succeed aren't necessarily the ones who had the best start. They're not the smartest or the most talented or the most connected. They're the ones who said, I'm going to take full responsibility for my life. I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to change what I can change and accept what I can't change, but I'm not going to use anything as an excuse for not becoming everything I'm capable of becoming. That decision, that commitment to personal responsibility, that's the foundation of everything else. Because here's the thing, you can't build a great life on a foundation of excuses. You can't achieve extraordinary results with an ordinary level of personal responsibility. You can't reach your potential while blaming your circumstances. It just doesn't work that way. Success requires that you look in the mirror first, last, and always. It requires that you ask yourself, what did I do or not do to create this situation? What can I do differently? How can I improve? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to become? Those are the questions that lead somewhere. Those are the questions that create change. So let me challenge you today. Stop waiting. Stop blaming. Stop making excuses. Start looking in the mirror and asking yourself the tough questions. What needs to change about you? What habits are holding you back? What skills do you need to develop? What attitudes need adjusting? What disciplines need establishing? The answers to these questions are the answers to your problems. Work on yourself, and everything else starts to work. That's not a promise. That's a principle. And if you'll embrace this principle, if you'll take radical responsibility for your life starting today, you'll be amazed at what can happen in just a few short years. Now that we've established that you're responsible for your life, let me share with you one of the most powerful philosophies I've ever learned. It changed my life, and I've seen it change thousands of lives over the years. Here it is. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Read that again. Think about it. Most people are out there chasing success, chasing money, chasing recognition, chasing happiness. They're running after it like it's something outside of themselves that they need to catch. But that's not how it works. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from who you are consistently. Let me explain this in a way that makes sense. If you want to have more, you've got to become more. That's the deal. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. Because here's the thing, the marketplace doesn't pay you for your time. It doesn't pay you for your effort. It pays you for the value you bring. And the value you bring is in direct proportion to the person you've become. Your income rarely exceeds your personal development. Your relationships can't be better than your communication skills. Your health can't be better than your daily habits. Your life is a reflection of you. I used to work harder than most people I knew. I'd put in long hours, break my back, give it everything I had. But I wasn't getting ahead. I was frustrated, confused, angry even. Then someone explained it to me this way. Jim, you're working hard on your job, but are you working hard on yourself? That question stopped me cold. I realized I'd been pouring all my energy into my work, but almost nothing into my own development. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't learning new skills. I wasn't growing as a person. I was just doing the same things over and over, getting the same results over and over, and wondering why things weren't changing. Here's what I discovered. You can work hard on your job and make a living, but if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. Not just in money, though that often follows. A fortune in every area of life. Better relationships because you've become a better communicator. Better health because you've become more disciplined. Better opportunities because you've become more valuable. Better results because you've become more capable. See, life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And the most important change is the change in you. Now, some people hear this and they think it sounds selfish. Focus on yourself? Isn't that self-centered? No, it's not. Let me tell you why. The best thing you can do for the people you love is become the best version of yourself. If you want to help the poor, don't be one of them. If you want to help your family, work on yourself until you're capable of providing real value. If you want to make a difference in your community, develop yourself to the point where you have something significant to contribute. Working on yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's responsible. It's the foundation of everything else you want to accomplish. Think about it this way. You're like a cup. If your cup is empty, you have nothing to pour out. If your cup is half full, you can only give so much. But if your cup is overflowing because you've been filling it consistently with knowledge, skills, character, and wisdom, then you have plenty to share. You can't give what you don't have. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you haven't been. Personal development isn't the cherry on top of a successful life. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. Here's something most people don't understand. The marketplace rewards value, not activity. You can be busy all day, running around doing things, checking off tasks, but if you're not bringing value, the marketplace doesn't care. It's not personal, it's just how it works. The plumber who can fix your problem in 10 minutes gets paid more than the plumber who takes all day but can't figure it out. Why? Because one has developed greater skill. One has become more valuable. And the marketplace, for all its flaws, is brilliant at recognizing and rewarding value. So how do you become more valuable? You work on yourself. You read books that challenge your thinking. You study your craft until you're not just competent but exceptional. You develop your character so people can trust you. You improve your communication so people can understand you. You strengthen your discipline so you can follow through on your commitments. You expand your knowledge so you have more to offer. Every single day, you're either getting better or getting worse. You're never standing still. And the cumulative effect of getting a little better every day is absolutely staggering over time. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If you read just 30 minutes a day, that's about one book a week, which is 50 books a year. Most people don't read one book a year after they leave school. But you read 50? Do you think that might make a difference in your income, in your opportunities, in your confidence, in your ability to solve problems? Of course it will. Or take your health. If you exercise 30 minutes a day, eat a little better, sleep a little more, that's nothing dramatic on any given day. But do that consistently for a year, and you're a different person physically. Do it for 5 years, and you're in a different category entirely. This is what most people miss. They're looking for the big breakthrough, the lottery ticket, the overnight success. But success isn't like that. Success is simple disciplines practiced every day. It's the guy who's getting up a little earlier, working on his skills a little longer, reading a little more, trying a little harder. Nothing dramatic, nothing that makes headlines. But that accumulation, that compound effect, that creates the life everyone else wishes they had. They see the results and think it's luck. They don't see the thousands of small decisions, the daily disciplines, the consistent effort to become better. Your economic income is the direct result of your personal income. And I don't mean how much money you make, I mean how much you're worth to the marketplace. If you want your income to grow, you've got to grow. That's the formula. You can't demand more money without offering more value. You can't expect a better position without developing better skills. You can't want a different life without becoming a different person. The sequence is fixed. Become more, and you'll have more. Try to reverse it, and you'll be frustrated forever. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people major in minor things. They spend enormous amounts of time on activities that don't move them forward. Watching television, scrolling through social media, gossiping, complaining, making excuses. Meanwhile, they spend almost no time on the things that would actually change their lives. Reading, learning, practicing, developing skills, building relationships with people who are ahead of them. They've got their priorities completely backwards. They're spending pennies on their education and dollars on their entertainment. They're investing hours in things that don't matter and minutes in things that do. I'll be honest with you. When I started focusing on personal development, it felt uncomfortable. I had to turn off the television. I had to say no to activities that didn't contribute to my growth. I had to invest money in books and seminars when I didn't have much money. I had to spend time learning when I could have been relaxing. But you know what? That discomfort was temporary. The results are permanent. The discomfort of discipline weighs ounces. The discomfort of regret weighs tons. I'd rather deal with the small discomfort of daily improvement than the massive pain of looking back on a wasted life. Here's a truth that might sting a little. You don't get in life what you want. You get what you deserve. And what you deserve is determined by who you've become. If you're making $30,000 a year, it's probably because you've become a $30,000 a year person. If you want to make more, become worth more. If your relationships are shallow, it's probably because you've become a shallow person. If you want deeper relationships, develop more depth. If your health is poor, it's probably because you've become someone with poor habits. If you want better health, become someone who takes care of their body. Everything comes back to this. Work on yourself. The good news is that personal development is completely within your control. You can't control the economy. You can't control the weather. You can't control other people. You can't control your past. But you can absolutely control what you read, what you learn, what you practice, what habits you develop, what skills you acquire. That's all yours. Nobody can take that from you. Nobody can stop you from working on yourself unless you let them. And that's the beauty of this philosophy. It puts the power back in your hands where it belongs. Let me share something I learned from one of my mentors. He said, Jim, the difference between where you are and where you want to be is information and activity. Information means learning. Activity means applying what you learn. Most people have neither. They're not learning anything new, and they're not applying what they already know. Then there are people who are learning but not applying. They're gathering information but not taking action. That doesn't work either. Knowledge without action is just philosophy. But when you combine learning with action, when you're constantly growing and constantly implementing what you learn, that's when transformation happens. That's when life changes dramatically. So here's my question for you. What are you doing to become better? Not just to do better, but to be better. What books are you reading? What skills are you developing? What weaknesses are you addressing? What strengths are you building on? If you're not actively working on yourself, you're falling behind. Because life isn't static. The marketplace isn't static. Your competition isn't static. They're all moving forward, and if you're standing still, you're actually going backwards, relatively speaking. You've got to be intentional about your growth. You've got to make it a priority, not something you'll get to someday when you have time. You'll never have time. You've got to make time because nothing is more important than becoming the person who can create the life you want. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about what you actually do. Because philosophy without action is just daydreaming. You can understand everything I've said so far, agree with every word, and still end up with the same life if you don't do something about it. So let me give you some practical things, simple things that will change your life if you do them consistently. Notice I said simple, not easy. There's a difference. Here's one of the most profound things I've ever learned. Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Let me say that again, because it's critical. Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day. It's not the big catastrophic events that ruin most lives. It's the small stuff, the little choices that seem insignificant in the moment but compound over time. Take your health, for example. Eating a donut doesn't make you unhealthy. Missing one workout doesn't ruin your fitness. But eating a donut every day, skipping workouts consistently, staying up too late night after night, that creates a body that breaks down, a life that's limited, a future that's compromised. And here's the thing, it's easy to eat the donut. It's easy to skip the workout. It's easy to stay up late watching television. Those errors in judgment don't hurt in the moment. That's why people keep making them. But they compound, they accumulate. And 5 years later, you're dealing with health problems that didn't have to happen. On the flip side, eating an apple doesn't make you healthy. Doing one workout doesn't make you fit. Going to bed on time one night doesn't transform your energy. But doing those simple disciplines every day, that changes everything. The apple is easy to eat, but it's also easy not to eat. The workout is easy to do, but it's also easy to skip. Going to bed on time is easy, but staying up is easier in the moment. That's the challenge. The things that are easy to do are also easy not to do, and that's where most people fail. They fail to do the simple things that would change their lives because those things don't seem urgent. Let me give you some specifics. Let's start with your mind. What are you feeding it? If you watch the news for an hour every day, you're feeding your mind negativity, fear, and problems you can't solve. If you scroll social media for hours, you're feeding your mind comparison, distraction, and other people's highlight reels. But if you read good books for 30 minutes a day, if you listen to educational content, if you spend time thinking about your goals and your growth, you're feeding your mind nutrients that help it grow stronger. Your mind is like a garden. What you plant is what grows. You can plant weeds by default, or you can plant flowers by design. The choice is yours, and you make it every single day with how you spend your time. Here's a simple discipline that will change your financial life. At the end of each day, account for your money. Where did it go? What did you spend it on? Most people have no idea. Money just disappears, and they wonder why they're always broke. But if you'll track it, if you'll pay attention, you'll be shocked at what you find. Small amounts wasted daily add up to massive amounts over time. $5 a day on coffee you could make at home is $1,800 a year. $1,800 invested at a reasonable return over 30 years is significant wealth. It's not about being cheap. It's about being conscious. It's about deciding where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. And here's another one. Take care of your body like it's the only one you'll ever get. Because it is. You can't trade it in. You can't upgrade to a new model. This is it. So treat it with respect. Move it every day. Feed it real food, not processed garbage. Give it enough water. Let it rest properly. These aren't complicated concepts, but most people violate these simple principles daily and then wonder why they feel terrible. Your body is the vehicle that carries you through life. If you don't maintain it, it breaks down. And unlike a car, you can't just go buy a new one. Let's talk about relationships for a moment. Here's a simple discipline. Really listen when people talk to you. Not just waiting for your turn to speak. Actually listening. Most people are so busy thinking about what they're going to say next that they don't hear what the other person is saying. But if you'll develop the skill of genuine listening, if you'll focus on understanding before being understood, your relationships will transform. People will feel valued around you. They'll want to be near you. They'll open up to you. All because you did something simple that most people don't do. Another one, say thank you. Show appreciation. Acknowledge people's efforts and contributions. This costs you nothing, but it means everything to the person receiving it. Most people walk through life taking everything for granted, wondering why their relationships are shallow and unsatisfying. But the person who expresses genuine gratitude regularly builds deep, meaningful connections. It's simple, it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do, and that's why most people don't do it. Here's something about time that most people don't understand. You can't save time. You can only spend it. The question is, what are you spending it on? Are you investing your time in things that move you forward, or are you wasting it on things that don't matter? Every hour you spend watching mindless entertainment is an hour you could have spent developing a skill. Every morning you sleep in past when you should be up is a morning you could have used to work on your goals. Time is the one resource you can never get more of. Once it's gone forever. The wealthy person and the poor person both get 24 hours in a day. The difference is how they use those hours. Let me give you a simple test. Track your time for a week. Write down what you do with every hour. At the end of the week, look at how you spent your time and ask yourself, is this how a successful person spends their time? Is this how someone who's serious about their future invests their hours? If the answer is no, you've got work to do. Not someday, today, right now. Because your life is nothing more than how you spend your time, and if you're wasting your time, you're wasting your life. Here's the bottom line. You don't have to make massive changes. You just have to make better choices. Every day, in small ways. Choose the book over the television. Choose the workout over the couch. Choose the healthy meal over the fast food. Choose the productive hour over the wasted hour. These aren't dramatic decisions. Nobody's going to give you a medal for making them. But make them consistently, day after day, and in a few years you'll be living a completely different life. Not because something magical happened. Because you practice simple disciplines that compound over time. That's the secret. That's what works. Now here's where most people stumble. They start strong, make some changes, get a little momentum, and then they quit. Why? Because results don't come fast enough. They've been working on themselves for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, and they don't see the dramatic transformation they expected, so they give up and go back to their old ways. And that's the tragedy, because they quit right before the breakthrough. Let me tell you something about how life works. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. And you don't get results for the day. You get results for the value you've accumulated over many days. Everything worthwhile takes time. You can't cram for a test called life. You can't pull an all-nighter and expect to make up for years of neglect. Personal development doesn't work that way. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Actually, it's not even a marathon. It's a lifestyle. It's forever. Think about a bamboo tree. You plant it, water it, fertilize it, take care of it. First year, nothing happens. Second year, still nothing. Third year, fourth year, nothing visible above ground. But in the fifth year, that bamboo tree grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Now, did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? Of course it took 5 years. Those first 4 years, it was developing a massive root system underground that could support that incredible growth. Your life is like that bamboo. You might be in year 1, year 2, working on yourself, seeing very little visible progress, but don't stop. You're developing roots. You're building a foundation. And when the breakthrough comes, and it will come, everyone will think you got lucky overnight, but you'll know the truth. Here's what you need to understand. Life responds to deserve, not need. Everybody needs more money. Everybody needs better health. Everybody needs stronger relationships. But need alone doesn't get you anywhere. The marketplace doesn't care what you need. It only cares what you deserve based on the value you bring. So stop asking, why don't I have more? And start asking, have I become more? When you deserve it, you'll have it, not a moment before. And let me tell you something else. You can't hire someone to do your push-ups for you. You can't pay someone to read books for you and somehow get the knowledge. You can't delegate your personal development. This is work only you can do. Nobody can do it for you. Your mama can't do it, your spouse can't do it, your boss can't do it. This is on you. And that's actually good news, because it means you're in complete control. Nobody can stop you from working on yourself unless you let them. Nobody can prevent you from reading, learning, growing, changing. That power is yours and yours alone. 5 years from now, you're going to arrive. The question is where? You can arrive with 5 years of growth behind you, 5 years of accumulated knowledge and skills and wisdom, or you can arrive with 5 years of excuses and regrets. Either way, the time is going to pass. So you might as well spend it becoming someone remarkable. Spend it building a foundation for an extraordinary life. Spend it developing into the person who can handle success when it comes. The question isn't whether personal development works. It does. The question is whether you'll work it. Will you commit to becoming better every single day? Will you stick with it when results are slow? Will you keep going when nobody's watching and nobody's cheering?